Watching TV has changed over time. Streaming has become the new norm. That's why Golden State Media Concepts television podcast dives headfirst to the world of cord cutting. Want to be on the loop of what's hot in Netflix? Or if it's not a preference, what about original shows in Hulu? We've got you covered. Join us as we fill in the blanks and talk about movies to stream and what show you should be binging. This is the Golden State Media Concepts television podcast.
Do you see that? You shouldn't have brought that picture in then. We are back for another one. Hello, and welcome to the GSMC Television Podcast. We're part of the mighty GSMC Podcast Network, and I'm your melting into a puddle of sweat host, Howard Fletcher. It is hot here in the DMV, and it's been hot for about a month straight. Wow. And I am joined, as always, by my trusted engineer, Jack the Black Pug, and we are positively honored and thrilled and excited to be here with you once again. If you're new to the show, I'd like to give you a very warm welcome. Thank you for giving us a try. I always say you can pick from you can do a whole bunch of things with your time besides listen to me. So the fact that you chose our podcast and you're listening to me, I appreciate that, and I want to show my appreciation by hopefully giving you something that'll make you stick around. I hope you hear something that you like. That's the plan. We want to keep you coming back. And if you're a loyal return listener, you know how we feel about you. You're truly the reason that I'm here. So let's have some fun today. We have another jam-packed show for you today. P-Valley on STARZ. It gets another season, and I'll tell you about that ish. The Ellen Show is coming under more scrutiny. You may have heard about that already. I will update you on that story. We brought it to you in April. The Emmy Award nominations were just announced. You probably have heard them by the time this podcast has dropped, but I will still give you every nominee in every televised category, and I'll even tell you what I think or who I think or what will win, and then we'll see how wrong I am later on. Of course, I'll bring you news as it breaks, and I'll finish with a shiny new agreement between Universal and AMC Theaters that looks pretty darn close. And I'm being nice to something that I've been suggesting for weeks on this podcast, and I'll get no credit. But first, let's get started with some breaking Christopher Nolan news. Tenet may still be able to salvage a summer release after all. At least outside the United States, that is. Christopher Nolan's sci-fi thriller from Warner Brothers will debut internationally, this is the plan, starting August 26th, before opening in select cities in North America over Labor Day weekend on September 3rd. Now, remember, folks, I did go on the record, probably last week or the week before, saying that I didn't think it was going to open this year at all. But if it did open, it would be in limited release. So far, I'm kind of close. I'm still patting myself on the back. The studio announced Monday that Tenet is launching at the end of August in 70 overseas territories, including Australia, Canada, France, Germany, Italy, Japan, Korea, Russia, and the United Kingdom. At this time, it's unclear what parts of the U.S. the film will play in, but the studio does not have plans yet to release Tenet in China. And China is a big market. Warner Brothers said last week that Tenet would not have a traditional global day and date release. A surprising, though not unprecedented, break from the tradition. Since North America is the world's biggest film market, it remains pivotal for major movies to turn a profit. But the studio hopes to innovate and recalibrate given the fact that foreign markets are already starting to open safely and desperately need new Hollywood movies to entice crowds. I want to repeat the beginning of that sentence because this is what the movie theaters aren't doing. To the studio's hope to innovate and recalibrate. That's what they need to do. Now, the U.S., on the other hand, has seen coronavirus cases exponentially rise in recent weeks, complicating plans to resume operations at domestic movie theaters anytime soon. Now, as was previously reported on this podcast, Warner Brothers recently began telling exhibitors in Europe and Asia about plans for an August 26th to 28th opening weekend. Strong ticket sales for the sequel Korean movie Bus to Busan, which is the sequel is entitled Peninsula, has generated $21 million in Korea since July 15th. And that was a sign of confidence to studios that patrons were ready to get out of the house and attend the movies in Korea. Traditionally, a staggered rollout would be a risky proposition for a movie like Tenet, which cost around $200 million to produce and tens of millions more to market. Beyond piracy concerns, Tenet could face other hindrances from its new release plan. Audiences know very little about its plot, an international promotional tactic that's become modus operandi for Nolan's twisty cerebral thrillers. What we do know, however, is that it stars John David Washington, Robert Pattinson, and Elizabeth Debicki, who I cannot wait to see. I say that every time. And that it's not about time travel, as the trailers seem to look like. He says it's about inversion. We will find out what that means. Not inception, but inversion. If spoilers leak, it could put a damper on demand to see the film in the U.S. Alternatively, it's been so long since there's been a major theatrical release, people could be itching to see anything fresh once it's safe to go to cinemas again. That's a big once. Once it's safe to go to cinemas again. So, we'll see. Warner Brothers is still waiting for the go-ahead to debut Tenet in China, the world's second biggest movie market. Initially, there were concerns that Tenet wouldn't be able to screen there. When theaters in the country first started to reopen, exhibitors were not able to play movies that exceeded 2 hours in length. And Chris Nolan, he probably hasn't made a movie under 2 hours since Memento that I can think of. Anyway, Tenet clocks in at just over 2 hours and 30 minutes. But cinema owners have recently booked Harry Potter and the Sorcerer's Stone, unbelievably long movie, and Inception, another long movie, and other old titles with lengthy runtimes, suggesting that China has eased up or doesn't plan to enforce the restriction. Nolan is a vocal advocate of movie theaters and exhibitors, and he had long hoped that Tenet could have been a saving grace for cinemas after prolonged shutdowns that began in March. But that's become increasingly complicated. In the U.S., a majority of venues are still closed as experts have found that the virus spreads rapidly inside confined spaces, such as movie theaters. Contrary to what John Fithian will want you to believe. Restaurants and churches. Exhibitors have based their timelines to reopen around Tenet and Disney's Mulan, and ordering concessions, rehiring employees, and taking steps to become coronavirus compliant has proven to be pricey. Theater owners have privately expressed frustrations because they are losing money every time they gear up to resume business, only to have studios push back release dates. There's no telling if the latest date will stick, but if it does, Tenet will be the first major tentpole to release in theaters since the pandemic. Nolan's latest picture has been delayed 3 times since it was originally scheduled to debut in July. Given the rapidly changing nature of the global health crisis, these plans could remain fluid if the situation worsens. Studios have continued to adapt and modify theatrical plans as shutdowns extend into their 5th month. In the past few days, Disney has taken Mulan off its calendar altogether, and Paramount moved A Quiet Place 2 from Labor Day weekend to spring 2021. So if Paramount is not willing to risk A Quiet Place 2, which will be a moneymaker but is no Tenet, I doubt that Warner is going to want to put Tenet out there unless they kind of know they're going to get their money back. Well, what I was able to find was the global release plan for Tenet. So these are the countries and the dates where Tenet is going to be opening, or it's planned to be opening. And then I'll tell you what I think is going to happen. I'll make my next grand prediction. But I thought this list was kind of interesting because it shows just how far ahead some countries are in their opening plans than we are. And we'll see how successful they are. Hopefully they are, because that'll be a good sign. Here we go. Wednesday, August 26th, Tenet is going to open in Belgium, Bulgaria, Croatia, Denmark, Egypt, Estonia, Finland, France, Holland, Hungary, Iceland, Indonesia, Italy, Korea, Latvia, Lithuania, Portugal, Serbia, Slovakia, Sweden, Switzerland, Turkey, Ukraine, and the United Kingdom. That is a pretty healthy list. Thursday, August 27th, the next day, here's another big list. It opens in Australia, Austria, Bahrain, Canada, Czech Republic, Germany, Greece, Hong Kong, Israel, Lebanon, Malaysia, the Middle East. I don't know what that means. New Zealand, Poland, Saudi Arabia. Okay, so the Middle East is in Saudi Arabia. Singapore, Taiwan, Thailand, and the United Arab Emirates, which also apparently isn't in the Middle East. So I don't know what Middle East means. Especially since I see Kuwait and Qatar down in the list. Why did they say the Middle East? Okay, anyway, those are the two big dates of opening. So as you can see, that's the lion's share of countries. Now here's the tailing off countries. Friday, August 28th, East Africa, of course. They never name they very rarely name the countries in Africa. They just name the parts of the continent. All right, here we go. They gave a couple of things. East Africa, Ghana, Nigeria, Norway, Romania, Slovenia, Spain, and Vietnam. On Wednesday, September 3rd, you have the United States, Kuwait, and Qatar. Thursday, September 10th, you have Azerbaijan, Kazakhstan, and Russia. All right. Thursday, September 17th, Cyprus gets an opening all by itself. And Friday, September 18th, Japan. And there are several other countries that they listed down here that they haven't had a date set for them. I'm not going to name them. I don't think there's a reason to have to do that. But what I wanted to say was about the United States opening. Okay, so they have, if they're successful in all those countries that I named the week previous, which is to the U.S. opening, that would be the last week in August, they are going to try to open in some limited scope in some theaters in the United States on September 3rd, which is Labor Day weekend. Wednesday, September 3rd. Is the beginning, the way we go, that's the beginning of the Labor Day weekend. Okay, so I think what's going to happen is if things go well, they're going to open in like New York, DC, some of the other cities on the east of Boston, some of the other northeastern cities where we've had it either plateau or actually go down. They may have a Los Angeles opening, even though California is jacked up. They still might feel as though they need to have a Los Angeles opening, and maybe a few others. But it's going to be very limited and very exclusive, probably. I think if they start seeing that they can pull enough money out of those countries when they have that release date, because I think right now, given just the way things have gone, for Warner Brothers to be extremely bullish on their return on investment in Tenet, I think would be overly optimistic. I think at this point they realize that just timing wasn't good, and if they break even on this, they will have done well. If they can turn ultimately a profit of some sort, it would be a great thing. I think that they are going to see pray that China opens up, and they're going to see what these other countries do. And if they start approaching $200 million, it's going on HBO Max. That's what I think. Because they just have to get this thing out. And if they put it out there, and I think eventually it's going to go to HBO Max. So here's the Howard prediction. I predict that if this schedule holds and they have a U.S. opening, well, first thing, if they have an international opening before September, and they do meet the September 3rd date in the United States somewhere, Tenet will be on HBO Max before the end of the year. And that's where they're going to hope that they can make it up somehow, or it'll be on VOD. That's probably better. They'll put it on video on demand first, but by Christmas, it'll be on HBO Max. That's my prediction, given what was reported yesterday and what I've been able to glean from my own sources. I just think that this is just for Tenet, and maybe Mulan, same type of deal, but over on Disney Plus rather than HBO Max. I just think those two films are going to be the victims for, as far as what the money they could have made. However, they may be seen as the movies that prime the pump for the movie industry and exhibitors on the exhibitor level to start cranking again. So that's it. That's what I have for now on Tenet. As you know, this is my baby of a story, so I will keep you all informed. But next, we're going to talk about Ellen. And it's a story I brought you in April. And nothing else surfaced until now. I'll be back with that in a moment. Go get some refreshments. I'll be back soon. We're going to pay some bills. Thank you for listening. Yeah. She might be, well, I'm going to let you know, Jack. We'll see. All right, we're back. And listen, this is part of a story that I brought you all back in April. And I said that I'd keep looking, see if I can find something on it. And news broke yesterday. And a matter of fact, and it wasn't such a great big story back in April, but this morning I happened to see them mention it on the Today Show when I was flipping around the channels. And so if it's on the Today Show, then it's like freaking mainstream. The Ellen Degeneres show has become the subject of an internal investigation by Warner Media, following numerous accounts of workplace problems on the long-running daytime series. Executives from show producer, Telepictures, and distributor Warner Brothers Television sent a memo to staffers last week saying that they've engaged in a WBT-TV owner, Warner Media's employee relations group, and a third-party firm who will interview current and former staffers about their experiences on set. A Warner Brothers Television spokesperson declined to comment on the matter, but a rep for the Ellen DeGeneres show did not immediately respond to reporters for requests for comment either. The memo comes on the heels of recent unflattering reports about the working conditions at the show. In April, I reported on this podcast about the treatment of legacy crew members during the coronavirus lockdown. In mid-July, BuzzFeed published a report alleging racism and intimidation on the show. The memo came from the desks of Telepictures Executive Vice President Donna Ryder-Linsk and WBTV Vice President of Human Resources Donna Hancock-Husband. The name of the third-party consultant was not immediately clear. Both companies underscored their commitment to providing an environment where employees can flourish, said one of the individuals familiar with the document. BuzzFeed's story contained a spectrum of accused racist behavior from microaggressions, which is a word, let me tell you, microaggressions, that's a word I don't really care for. That's another show. But anyway, this story by BuzzFeed said that they were accused of racist behavior from microaggressions to jokes about mistaking two black female employees with the same hairstyle, as well as criticism of statements allegedly made to another staffer by executive producer Ed Glavin. Glavin and fellow executive producers Andy Lassner and Mary Connolly addressed the allegations in a joint statement to BuzzFeed. Quote, "We are truly heartbroken and sorry to learn that even one person in our production family has had a negative experience. It's not who we are, and it's not who we strive to be, and not the mission Ellen has set for us. End quote, the group said. Here's another quote. For the record, the day-to-day responsibility of the Ellen Show is completely on us. We take all of this very seriously, and we realize, as many in the world are learning, that we need to do better and are committed to do better and will do better, end quote. In April, I reported on this podcast about distress and outrage among Degeneres' production crew, who were subjected to poor communication and told to expect reduced compensation during initial coronavirus shutdowns, even as the series hired non-union crews to mount a quarantine production from the host's, Ellen Degeneres' Los Angeles home. The crew was restored to full pay prior to the publication of the story, because it was about to break on Variety.com. At the time, a Warner Brothers spokesperson acknowledged that communication could have been better, but cited complications due to the chaos caused by COVID-19. Warner Media has, like all other studios, been under pressure in recent years to investigate all claims of workplace hostility in response to increased focus on misconduct in the wake of the Me Too movement. So as this story develops, I'll keep you guys informed. Allegations such as these run very counter to Ellen's on-screen persona, and I imagine that she would want to publicly and quickly address these. So I said this was a story for another time, but I'll just mention it. This is why I don't like the word microaggressions. It's appropriate if you have a class in organizational behavior or in sociology or even psychology, and you're talking about a descriptor of something, and then you're going to get into specifics, then microaggressions, I guess, is a good name of a chapter where you go into what microaggressions are. But when you say, I had this hostile thing, I was in this toxic environment, well, what happened to you? Microaggressions. That doesn't tell me anything. And also, it seems rather subjective. So you got to tell me what happened. See, I have a problem. We like to not talk in specificity. And, not only am I big on vocabulary, and I think we have enough language so we don't have to use words like microaggressions. We can talk about what happened, unless, of course, you're talking theoretically, and then you can do it in an academic setting. That's why I said that I don't have anything personally against the word, but the way it's used when people talk about things that happened to them, it doesn't tell me anything. And I've been running into this lately. If somebody brings up stuff in a bad situation, and I say, well, what happened? Oh, there's so many microaggressions. That doesn't tell me anything. That's all. Now let's talk about some P-Valley news. P-Valley has been renewed for a second season at STARZ. The premium cabler made the announcement on Monday after just 3 episodes of the series have aired. P-Valley was created by Katori Hall and is based on her play, Pussy Valley. The hour-long series follows the employees of a strip club in the Mississippi Delta. Season 2 will consist of 10 episodes, up from 8 episodes in Season 1. P-Valley has quickly become this summer's newest must-see television series as critics and audiences alike are taken up by the authentic and compelling characters that make The Pink, which is the name of the strip club, come alive, said Christina Davis, president of original programming for STARZ. Katori has delivered a provocative drama that looks beyond the glitz and into the hearts and minds of these fully realized and compelling characters, exploring them through a female gaze that invites the audience to take a walk in their stilettos. We know Katori has a lot of incredible stories to tell and a lot in store for these women in a second season. P-Valley received strong praise from critics upon its release, with the show earning 100% critical approval rating on Rotten Tomatoes. Per STARZ, it also has a new record on the STARZ app for the most viewed series premiere, drawing 17% more viewers than the previous record holder. I don't know who the previous record holder was. Maybe it was Power. I'm not sure. The series also grew its viewership 37% on the app between episode 1 and episode 3. The series stars Brandy Evans, Nico Annan, Shannon Thornton, Ilarica Johnson, Skylar Joy, J. Alphonse Nicholson, Parker Sawyers, Harriet D. Foy, Tyler Lepley, and Dan J. Johnson, all of whom I've never heard of before, and I've never seen them that I can remember either. I've seen all 3 episodes that have aired of P-Valley so far. Season 1 also features a lineup of female directors, including Karina Evans, Kimberly Pierce, Millicent Shelton, Tamara Davis, Geeta V. Patel, Tasha Smith, Sydney Freeland, and Barbara Brown. Like I said, I've watched all 3 episodes of P-Valley that have aired so far. And I have to say, I couldn't disagree with the critics more. I'm sorry to be negative again today. I think the show panders to the lowest common denominator of people, and it shows the black community in its worst light in a lot of ways. At least the black male community. These women who are working this strip club. I'm not talking about working in a strip club. I have no judgment about that. But the men in the show, it doesn't show them in a good light at all. There's not a redeeming black guy on the show. I'm saying this as a black man. Now, I'm not saying that necessarily the most upstanding people in the world would be walking into the pink. I'm not saying that either. So I guess in that way, it's authentic. But I've just never been one to give something dap for showing the dirty laundry of your community on a network TV show or on a cable show. I appreciate the work that all these actors are getting and the directors are getting, and I'm really, really happy that this playwright was able to take her work and turn it into a show. And it's only been 3 episodes so far, so, it's hard to judge, but again, I just don't see, based on what I've seen, why it's like getting all of these rave reviews. Because what I saw wasn't all that. Now, that said, as I say always on this show, just because I don't like a show, I would never tell you not to watch the show. As a matter of fact, if this show sounds interesting to you, I would encourage you to watch it. Because remember, I'm the guy who didn't like The Masked Singer in Friends. I mean, my taste isn't what is necessarily the mainstream. And Katori Hall didn't make this show for me, obviously. So what I would say is, please give it a peek. Please look at it if you have STARZ. I like the fact that Katori Hall, who is a black woman who can have a show that's successful, and I support her in that. I can't say that I support the content. I can't say that, but I think it's bad television. I do, but I'll finish out the season. So she can add me, I'll help her ratings. I'll finish out the season. And if I change my mind, I'll be the first one to say on this podcast. But right now, I was surprised to see this article because I didn't think it was necessarily going to get canceled. And I have read and heard from people who have enjoyed the show, who are enjoying the show. So I'm not surprised I got a second season. I'm just saying, based on 3 shows, to declare that this is like groundbreaking television, I think is premature and it's inaccurate. So we'll see. But I'm, that's my 2 cents on this thing. But I will also say, check it out. Be sure to check it out if you have STARZ. And let me know what you think. Email me at podcasthour@gmail.com. I'll be happy to read your email, whatever it says. Just please keep it clean on the air. Because obviously I'm not seeing it with the same eyes as the critics. And maybe I'm going to watch the whole thing, like I said. So if I give it another chance, or she brings this thing around, maybe even a knucklehead like me will be able to see why P-Valley is so good. Okay, I'm done with P-Valley. Next, we're going to talk about the Emmy Awards, y'all. They just broke this. In fact, I was going to do a totally different 2 segments of this show, and I had to go back and record the intro and do everything because the Emmy Awards were announced, and I'm going to go over the nominations, and then this Universal and AMC thing happened, which I'm going to talk about in the last segment, which is pretty massive, and again, has a lot to do with what I always rant and rail about on this show. So those things are coming up next. What you need to do is get comfortable, get something to eat, something to drink, whatever. Get comfortable. If you like this information, I'm going to have some good stuff for you coming up after this. Don't go away.
Tired of searching the vast jungle of podcasts? Now listen close and hear this out. There's a podcast network that covers just about everything that you've been searching. Hey! The Golden State Media Concepts Podcast Network is here. Nothing less than a podcast bliss with endless hours of podcast coverage. From news, sports, music, fashion, cooking, entertainment, fantasy, football, and so much more. So stop lurking around and go straight out to the Golden State Media Concepts Podcast Network. Guaranteed to fill that podcast itch. Whatever it may be. Visit us at www.gsmcpodcast.com. Follow us on Facebook and Twitter and download us on iTunes, SoundCloud, and Google Play.
All right, let's go. Jack, you ready for the Emmys? Long list. Okay. Look, the Emmy nominations for the 72nd Annual Emmy Awards were unveiled Tuesday, which was yesterday. This podcast drops on Fridays, so you probably may, if you follow this type of thing, heard of these nominations by now, but I'm still, since we are the TV podcast, going to go over them with you. Netflix walked away with a massive 160 nominations, the most of any network or streamer. Netflix Ozark and HBO Succession led the drama categories with 18 nominations each, while Amazon's The Marvelous Ms. Maisel, or Mrs. Maisel, dominated the comedy side again with 20 nods. However, HBO's Watchmen, my favorite show, or miniseries, landed the most nominations of any series, securing 26 nods for the Regina King-led show. Saturday Night Live alum Leslie Jones was joined by Laverne Cox, Josh Gad, and Tatiana Maslany to announce the nominations. The Emmy Awards, hosted by Jimmy Kimmel, probably from his kitchen, will air on September 20th on ABC. Now, here is a list of the nominees of the televised awards, and I will tell you, in most cases, who or what I think will win, and maybe if there's a dark horse, I'll tell you that, and I'll probably be wrong on both counts. But anyway, let's start with drama series. These are the nominations, and it's a long list of series in the drama category that were nominated. Better Call Saul from AMC, The Crown by Netflix, The Handmaid's Tale Hulu, Killing Eve, BBC America and AMC, The Mandalorian, that's Disney Plus, Ozark on Netflix, Stranger Things on Netflix, and Succession on HBO. I think that the winner in this category should be Better Call Saul, because I think they had a heck of a season last season. Now, in most of these cases, I have not seen everything on this list. Did not watch last season of The Handmaid's Tale, did not watch The Mandalorian all the way, and I did not watch the whole season of Ozark, and I don't watch Succession. So those are my qualifications, or my disqualifications, but I think Better Call Saul will win in that category. In the comedy series category, you have Curb Your Enthusiasm, HBO, Dead to Me, Netflix, The Good Place, NBC, Insecure, HBO, The Kominsky Method, Netflix, The Marvelous Mrs. Maisel, Amazon Prime, Schitt's Creek on Pop TV, and last but not least, What We Do in the Shadows on FX. I think that Schitt's Creek is going to win because they're going off the air, which might not be a good reason, but that's why I think they're going to win. Dark Horse is What We Do in the Shadows, just like it was my dark horse on the Critics' Choice Awards, because I hear really great things about that. I'm probably wrong in both cases. Limited series. The nominees are Little Fires Everywhere on Hulu, Mrs. America Hulu, Unbelievable Netflix, Unorthodox Netflix, and Watchmen HBO. You all know what I'm going to pick. Watchmen on HBO is going to win that category. Lead actor in a drama series. Nominees are Jason Bateman, Ozark, Sterling K. Brown, This Is Us, Steve Carell, The Morning Show, Brian Cox of Succession, Billy Porter, last year's winner of Pose, and Jeremy Strong on Succession. I think the winner of that category is going to be Brian Cox in Succession. And my dark horse is Jason Bateman in that category because he wears several hats. But again, any of these, you know what? These is a strong field. I haven't seen a nominee yet where I'm just like, wow. Well, other than The Good Place, but that was just an assumption of mine. Other than that, all of these are strong nominees. This is a strong field. Lead actress in a drama series. Your nominees are Jennifer Aniston for The Morning Show, Olivia Colman, The Crown, Jodie Comer, Killing Eve, Laura Linney, Ozark, Sandra Oh, Killing Eve, and Zendaya for Euphoria. And I think the winner of that's going to be Sandra Oh for Killing Eve. Your dark horse in that one, I think, is Laura Linney in Ozark. But again, a very strong field. Any of those actresses can win. Lead actor in a comedy series. Your nominees are Anthony Anderson, Blackish, Don Cheadle, Black Monday, Ted Danson, The Good Place, Michael Douglas on The Kominsky Method, Eugene Levy, Schitt's Creek, and Rami Youssef for Rami. I think the winner in this category is going to be Don Cheadle for Black Monday. I think the sentimental favorite is going to be Eugene Levy for Schitt's Creek, and we'll see who wins that. I'm probably off on both of those. I will say this. Ted Danson is nominated for The Good Place. I don't watch it, so I'm sure he did a good job, but I've said this on this podcast before. Ted Danson has one of the best agents in Hollywood because that dude never goes off the screen. I don't think a year has gone by that Ted Danson has not been on a show somewhere on television. Lead actress in a comedy series. Nominees are Christina Applegate, Dead to Me, Rachel Bronson, The Marvelous Mrs. Maisel, Linda Cardellini, Dead to Me, Catherine O'Hara, Schitt's Creek, Issa Rae, Insecure, and Tracy Ellis Ross in Blackish. I think your winner there is going to be Catherine O'Hara. But again, I could be wrong. I think the black horse in that one might be Christina Applegate. But again, who knows? We'll see. Lead actor in a limited series or movie. This is a strong list. The list is Jeremy Irons in Watchmen, Hugh Jackman, Bad Education, Paul Mescal, Normal People, Jeremy Pope, Hollywood, Mark Ruffalo, I Know This Much Is True. I think your winner there is Hugh Jackman in Bad Education. He was fantastic. That said, Mark Ruffalo is my dark horse because he was also very good and he plays two roles, which you get rewarded in Hollywood a lot of times for doing that if you do it well. Lead actress in a limited series or movie. Your nominees are Cate Blanchett, Mrs. America, Shira Haas, Unorthodox, Regina King, Watchmen, Octavia Spencer, Self-Made, Kerry Washington, Little Fires Everywhere. Your winner there is Regina King, Going Away. Okay? That's the only one I'm going to bet on. Supporting actor in a drama series. Here's a long list. Here are your nominees. Giancarlo Esposito, Better Call Saul, Bradley Whitford, The Handmaid's Tale, Billy Crudup, The Morning Show, Mark Duplass, The Morning Show, Nicholas Braun, Succession, Kieran Culkin, Succession, Matthew McFadden, Succession, Jeffrey Wright in Westworld. I think your winner is Giancarlo Esposito for Better Call Saul, who will get a standing ovation if he wins. I think your dark horse there is Jeffrey Wright in Westworld. I think the Succession guys and the Morning Show guys cancel each other out. So I think that, Giancarlo Esposito is who I'm going with. Supporting actress in a drama series. Here are your nominees. Laura Dern, Big Little Lies, Meryl Streep, Big Little Lies, Helena Bonham Carter, The Crown, Samira Wiley, The Handmaid's Tale, Fiona Shaw, Killing Eve, Julia Garner, Ozark, Sarah Snook, Succession, and Tandy Newton in Westworld. I think your winner there is Tandy Newton in Westworld. And your dark horse is Sarah Snook for Succession. That said, Fiona Shaw for Killing Eve should get consideration. And as always, Meryl Streep will probably not win, but she acted her butt off in Big Little Lies and probably should win. But she probably won't, because they'll say, don't give it to someone else. Supporting actor in a comedy series. Your nominees are Andre Braugher, Brooklyn Nine-Nine, William Jackson Harper, The Good Place, Alan Arkin, The Kominsky Method, Sterling K. Brown, The Marvelous Mrs. Maisel, Tony Shalhoub, The Marvelous Mrs. Maisel, Marshala Ali, Rami, Kenan Thompson, Saturday Night Live, and Dan Levy, Schitt's Creek. I am going to pick Tony Shalhoub and The Marvelous Mrs. Maisel. But it could be anyone on this list except for probably Kenan Thompson, who does a great job, but I don't think he's going to win. He's just been on that show forever and does a good job saying, what's up with that? Supporting actress in a comedy series. Your nominees are Betty Gilpin, Glow, Darcy Carden, The Good Place, Yvonne Orji, Insecure, Alex Borstein, The Marvelous Mrs. Maisel, and Maren Hinkle, The Marvelous Mrs. Maisel. Kate McKinnon, Saturday Night Live, Cecily Strong, Saturday Night Live, and Annie Murphy, Schitt's Creek. I don't watch a lot of these shows. I'm really probably not qualified to pick this category. Of all the categories I'm not qualified to choose, I'm going to pick Kate McKinnon just because I think she's very talented, and she's, if she were to win this, no one would think anyone was snubbed, but it could be anybody on this list because I don't know who they are. Next category is supporting actor in a limited series or movie. You have Dylan McDermott for Hollywood, Jim Parsons for Hollywood, Titus Burgess for The Unbreakable Kimmy Schmidt, Yahya Abdul-Mateen for Watchmen, Jovan Abdo for Watchmen, and Louis Gossett Jr. for Watchmen. I'm going to pick Yahya Abdul-Mateen II for Watchmen. Excellent job. Supporting actress in a limited series or movie. Your nominees are Holland Taylor, Hollywood, Uzo Aduba, Mrs. America, Margot Martindale, Mrs. America, Tracy Ullman, Mrs. America, Toni Collette, Unbelievable, and Jean Smart in Watchmen. I am going to give this one to Margot Martindale for playing Bella Abzug in Mrs. America, and your dark horse here is Jean Smart in Watchmen. I'm probably wrong on both of those. In reality competition, here are your shows. The Masked Singer on Fox, Nailed It, Netflix, RuPaul's Drag Race, VH1, Top Chef, Bravo, and The Voice on NBC. I am going to pick The Masked Singer on Fox just because I am always wrong when I pick against The Masked Singer, so I'm picking them this time. They'll probably lose because I picked them, and I'm sorry, The Masked Singer, but that's why I'm picking them for those of you who are listening. Variety sketch series. Your nominees are A Black Lady Sketch Show on HBO, Drunk History, Comedy Central, Saturday Night Live, NBC, and your winner there is anybody. I'm not going to pick one of those because I don't see one standing out in that group. They're all good shows, but none of them really stand out to me, so we'll see what happens there. Variety Talk Series. Here are your nominees. The Daily Show with Trevor Noah on Comedy Central, Full Frontal with Samantha Bee on TBS, Jimmy Kimmel Live, ABC, Last Week Tonight, John Oliver, HBO, and The Late Show with Stephen Colbert on CBS. I think your winner there is going to be Full Frontal with Samantha Bee because I think they put on an excellent show there. TBS, I mean, to do that show on TV, TBS is not a second-rate station. That's not what I mean when I'm about to say. However, TBS is not known for putting out high-quality original content. They usually don't get a lot of nominations, okay? I think between TBS submitting this and Samantha Bee's team's production, I think that they may win. Your dark horse here is... It's not the dark horse. Actually, the winner of this category is always Last Week Tonight with John Oliver. They're the best show that's there, but they've won before, so they probably might be given the Meryl Streep treatment and just say, okay, well, we know you're good. So that's it. That's the list of the nominees of the televised awards, and those are my selections. When the winners come out, I will save this list and I will go and show you just how wrong I was. Succession is a show that obviously I need to watch because of their recognition throughout all this, and my sister keeps telling me that it's just a crime that I don't watch that show. Next, I am going to on this show, for those of you who listen, know that I've been railing against against AMC for banning Universal because they got mad at them about Trolls World Tour and that whole deal. Well, guess what? AMC and Universal Pictures have just signed an agreement, and a lot of it sounds a lot like my recommendations. I don't think they stole it from me, but they might have, of what AMC needed to do to work in this type of world. So I'll get into this next segment. I will give AMC credit for making this move, although I think Universal had the leverage. And we'll get into all of that next. Go get a stiff drink, your edibles, or whatever it is you take to relax. And unless you're driving, then don't relax too much. And I'll be back after this. Don't go away. Yeah, I'm telling you, Jack. I should be an agent or I should be a consultant for these people. We're back. And I'm just going to get right into it. Universal Pictures and AMC Theaters have put aside their bitter feud and signed a multi-year agreement that will allow the studio's films to premiere on premium video on demand within 3 weeks of their theatrical debut. The pact, sure to send shockwaves throughout the exhibition industry, has the potential to reshape the ways that movies are marketed and distributed. Rival studios are likely to begin pushing for exhibitors to grant them more flexibility when it comes to determining when and how their theatrical releases can make their way onto home entertainment platforms. Now, the financial terms of the agreement were not disclosed. I'm going to tell you why. Well, they weren't disclosed because Universal, AMC got reamed, I believe, but I'll get into that later. But they had to do it. So I'm not going to get on them too hard. Anyway, however, in a statement, AMC CEO Adam Aron said the company will, quote, share in these new revenue streams, which means that it's going to get a cut of any money made on the digital rentals. Universal only has the ability to put its movies on premium on demand, meaning the rentals that go for roughly $20 a pop. It can't sell films or rent them for lower than on-demand fees in the $3 to $6 range until 3 months after they debut in cinemas. So within the 3-month window, they got to keep the video on demand at a premium price. Now, even though Universal, under this new agreement, could theoretically debut the next Jurassic World or Fast and Furious installments on premium on demand within 17 days of their debut, they will likely have longer exclusive runs in cinemas. Instead, the studio has the option to capitalize on its new freedom with mid-budget fare, comedies, and horror movies that might not have as robust a runs in cinemas. But if smaller movies perform better than expected on the big screen, Universal can wait to put it on digital rental services. On its upcoming slate, Universal also has Minions, The Rise of Gru, Halloween Kills with Jamie Lee Curtis. Jamie Lee still getting that Halloween money. Good for you, girl. The spy thriller 355 with Jessica Chastain, Penelope Cruz, and Lupita Nyong'o. The deal culminates a period of hostilities between the studio and the world's largest theater chain. A chill in relations that began after AMC vowed to stop showing Universal's movies after the studio decided last spring to unveil Trolls World Tour simultaneously on digital platforms and in the few theaters that were still open during the coronavirus pandemic. On Tuesday, both sides made nice, with Universal praising the viability of the big screen and AMC hailing the decision as a sign of its willingness to innovate. Okay, I got to break in here for a second. AMC is about to go under, all right? And granted, I know they have to put a good face on this thing. And I know Universal is willing to let them clean it up as much as they want to, because Universal would love to have their stuff in the theaters and getting those ticket prices. So they both help each other out. However, AMC should have been doing this from the beginning. They should not have had to be, and they probably would have gotten a better deal than what they negotiated had they approached Universal as a partner rather than said we're going to ban your movies because they didn't run this damn cartoon Trolls World Tour. It was ridiculous. Here's a quote. "The theatrical experience continues to be a cornerstone of our business," said Donna Langley, chairman of Universal Filmed Entertainment Group. "The partnership we've forged with AMC is driven by our collective desire to ensure a thriving future for the film distribution ecosystem and to meet consumer demand with flexibility and optionality." End quote. For his part, Aaron said, focusing on the long-term health of our industry, we would note that just as restaurants have thrived even though every home has a kitchen, AMC is highly confident that moviegoers will come to our theaters in huge numbers in a post-pandemic world. As people enjoy getting out of their homes, we believe the mystical escape and the magical communal experience offered at our theaters will always be a compelling draw, including, as it does, our big screens, big sound, and big seats, not to mention the alluring aroma of our perfectly prepared popcorn, end quote. All right, Aaron, let me tell you something. They've already, and this is one of the reasons why AMC was so much in the red, they've already gone to great lengths to make movie theaters be as comfortable as your house. All right? So just because when you go to a restaurant, it's not like eating at your house. The restaurant's not trying to make the experience just like you eating at home. The movie theaters are morphing into rec rooms. Okay? So that's not a good analogy. That analogy sucks. I know he's got to put a good face on it. I get it. All right. But AMC just frustrates me at every turn. They got a good deal here. I don't know what they were going to pay, but I think Universal might have just saved their bacon a little bit. And AMC, this is what they should have been working toward anyway. Because the communal experience this guy's talking about that's offered at theaters, I don't think people are craving that. Yes, people want to get out. And it's great to get a group of people together, and not all of us have rec rooms and large places where we can meet 15 of our friends and comfortably sit down and watch a movie on a flat screen. And the flat screen, all of us, including myself, have huge flat screens that are like movie-like. Okay, so I understand there's a place for the cinema, but it's not what he just described. People aren't dreaming about this. So we'll see how it goes. Here's some more. For years, Universal and other studios have pushed to shrink the window, industry parlance, for the period of time between a film's theatrical release and its debut on home entertainment. Traditionally, that frame of exclusivity has lasted for about 90 days, which theater owners have maintained is critical to prevent customers from opting to skip cinemas and wait until a film is available in their homes. Let me repeat that. Theater owners have maintained that 90 days is critical to prevent customers from opting to skip cinemas and wait until a film is available in their homes. So in other words, going to the cinema is not such a great draw. Okay? They wanted to hold on to these movies and force you to go to the cinemas. That's why they had to start making them more like your home. But studios have griped that those terms are onerous. They maintain that movies make most of their box office revenues in the first few weeks of release, and waiting 3 months to debut films on demand and across other platforms requires them to spend more money to advertise them and refamiliarize the public. However, COVID-19 has altered the power dynamics in the relationship between studios and theaters. The bulk of cinemas in the United States remain closed due to the virus, and plans for large-scale national reopening have been delayed again and again as cases surge in the South and on the West Coast. Theaters don't have the leverage they once did, and they're looking for ways to make money at a time when it's not clear if customers feel safe going to cinemas. I think it's clear, but whatever. At the same time, Universal has found continued financial success with its strategy to bypass theaters at a time when most of the country is still staying home. On-demand platforms have been booming during the pandemic, and Universal estimated that 5 million people rented Trolls World Tour in its first few weeks, generating roughly $100 million in sales. Empowered by those figures, it also debuted Judd Apatow's comedy The King of Staten Island on Premium On Demand this summer and has put movies such as Emma, a Jane Austen adaptation from its indie label focus on demand after their releases were truncated by coronavirus closures. In the past, Universal has perhaps been the most aggressive in pushing the limits of the theatrical release window and has tried to find ways to offer its movies to home entertainment customers earlier, running afoul of the exhibition community with its aborted plans to offer the Ben Stiller and Eddie Murphy comedy Tower Heist on demand within weeks of its 2011 debut. In that case, Universal backed down after theaters threatened to stop showing its films. Okay, let me tell you the difference between 2011 and 2020. Technology. There was not big time streaming in 2011. There wasn't streaming at all, really. I mean, it wasn't around, yes, but it was, Netflix was still running DVDs back then in the mail and flat screen televisions. I mean, for what I paid for a little 48, 52-inch flat screen in my condo back then, I could get a TV set now that can almost cover half a wall. And, so it's just, the situation, the competition between the living room and the theater have changed. The dynamics have changed. We had a paradigm shift. I keep saying paradigm shift on this podcast, but it's not as simple as the coronavirus pandemic did this. No, it just sped it up. People were going away from theaters. Again, that's why theaters were renovating and redesigning themselves to be more like living rooms, because people had the option now and they're willing to wait 3 months. That's why. In the coming weeks, the two companies will begin discussions surrounding international distribution agreements in the countries in Europe and in the Middle East served by AMC. As cinemas nationwide have struggled to reopen, AMC has been saddled with concerns of its liquidity. Even before the pandemic caused its locations to close for 4 months, the company was heavily indebted due to expensive refurbishments of its venues and deals to acquire rivals like Odeon and Carmike Cinemas. At one point, AMC looked on the verge of filing for bankruptcy, but recently renegotiated terms of its debt that have helped clean up its balance sheet. Okay, so that's what I could call from all of the breaking news that came down last night about this deal that I conceived. Okay. This is a good deal for AMC. This might, like I said, it might save their bacon. But the comments I'm hearing from their leadership still concern me, because I don't think they still understand that this magic that they think is in the theater exists. It doesn't exist anymore. Yes, there are people who I like seeing certain movies. And like I said, the Bond movie and Tenet and Mulan and the Wonder Woman movie, maybe not so much the Wonder Woman movie, but the Wonder Woman movie and Dinah, all those movies, the Fast and the Furious, they will probably open pretty big if we get the virus under control somewhat and they, debut them on these big screens. However, there's a significant percentage of people in the public who aren't, ingratiated to the theater. They're not enamored with the theater anymore, given the technology they have at home and the ability they have to watch these productions on what they own. And so they may wait for streaming under this agreement. But again, this still gives AMC a chance. They still have an exclusive premiere deal with Universal. And, as much as exhibitors, might be upset at AMC for making this deal because they feel as though their 3-month window has now been pretty much erased that 3-month window is going away anyway. And they just need to come to grips with that. So this deal, it was rushed. There's probably some problems with it. They're probably going to find that, it's not constructed the best, and they'll make some tweaks to it over the years, and other companies might change up the terms, but something like this had to be done. And that's what I've been preaching on this podcast, is that they needed to find a way to work with the studios during this change in paradigm. So that's it for that story, and that's it for this episode of the GSMC Television Podcast, been brought to you by the GSMC Podcast Network. I'd like to ask that you please remember to subscribe to the show and to write a nice review for us. It helps us. And also, if you can follow us on Facebook and Twitter and Instagram, we'd appreciate that. Most of all, please email me at podcasttower@gmail.com. I did have some emails. I'm going to get to them next week or next show. Couldn't read them today because we had all this breaking Emmy Award and then this Universal AMC news I had to get to. But please send them if they're anything you can talk about the show, good or bad, or any suggestions you have for me, and I will read them on the show. And I love to read them on the show. Listen, I know we're in some strange and challenging times right now. Let's all try to pull through this together. So what does that mean? It means we're in a worldwide pandemic, so please wash your hands, wear a mask if you go out into public, if you would, please, and just limit your interaction so we can get past this, so that we can go to AMC Theaters and see a premiere if we want to, especially when that's the ideal way to watch a movie. That's how they're produced, to be watched that way. As I said on this podcast, I think in the future they're going to produce them to be shown on television, but that's another story. So have a safe and fun weekend. Until we meet again, stream with care. Jack and I love you guys. Be kind to one another. Bye-bye.
You've been listening to the Golden State Media Concepts Television Podcast, part of the Golden State Media Concepts Podcast Network. You can find this show and others like it at www.gsmcpodcast.com. Download our podcast on iTunes, Stitcher, SoundCloud, and Google Play. Just type in GSMC to find all the shows from the Golden State Media Concepts Podcast Network, from movies to music, from sports to entertainment, and even weird news. You can also follow us on Twitter and on Facebook. Thank you, and we hope you have enjoyed today's program.